Hey, grandkids, I want to tell you a story about why I love Christmas so much still at my age. You know, Granddaddy loves Christmas, right? And a little bit of a foreshadowing here, but Dad was from some rinky dink town in Central Florida in the woods, right? And he kind of wanted to go to college, but he knew it was never going to happen. There was a dude named Bill Hill from Kentucky. It made something of himself as a name and was a pretty successful guy and contributed to Western Kentucky University as an alma mater. You know, he was dying about the time Dad was about ready to get out of high school, and they met. And he took a liking to Dad, and he said, "Hey, you want to go to college? I'll send you up there for a year on a scholarship. See how you do." And holy shit, there he was riding a dream, 4 states away. He's up there, runs into a chick from an hour away. Both of them first people that ever got to go to college at all. And this was a university, the Hilltoppers, man, Western Kentucky. You kidding me? There they were, and they fell in love. Sure enough, they give birth to a daughter, my older sister, and he joined the Navy, and they was traipsing all over everywhere. And they found themselves up in Chicago, Dad going to some kind of school. And Granddaddy calls, "Mama, I got y'all some plane tickets. Y'all's coming home for Christmas." Mama didn't want to go. Said, "Daddy, now's not a good time." You know, the Navy was paying him $90 a month, and she was making something like $25 a month babysitting and doing odd shit. You know, just barely stringing it together. And the only reason they didn't want to come is because they didn't want to show up the young poor kids, you know, with a baby with no gifts for anybody, man. They could barely eat. They couldn't afford to buy stuff for somebody. He wouldn't take no for an answer. "Y'all are coming." She's like, "Yes, sir." Anyway, they flew down there just a few days before Christmas. And Grammy said, "Hey, look, sugar, there's some mail on top of the freeze for you, you know," and give her just a stack of mail. And they was going through it that later at night. In it is a letter from the foundation of Bill Hill. The cat had died, right? Of course he had. And left Dad a little chunk of change, you know, as a, "Hey, kid, hope you're doing all right, man." It was $2,500 in a check. It'd been sitting there 6, 8 weeks, you know. They just put it with the rest of the mail. Yeah, they'd showed up with not a pot to piss in or window to throw out of. Opened this letter, $2,500 in it. Oh my God! Went to the bank next day, bought everybody something. And this is back in the time where it doesn't need to be extravagant. It's just a little something, something. And Mom still remembers. We bought everybody gloves and socks because you need that shit in the wintertime. Kentucky, it was a big old family, you know. And they probably spent $40, $50 on everybody. And had a great Christmas. Everything was cool. And like, I'm asking for this story because I want the details every time I hear it. Anyway, sooner or later he gets up to go take a piss. Dad does. And she says, "You know I love that man." Like, "Well, I hope so. Y'all been married 56 years, for Christ's sakes." And she goes, "Yeah, but you don't know the rest of that story." I said, "Well, tell me while he's gone real quick." She said, "I love that man. Do you know what he did with the rest of that money, Brian Paul?" I said, "No." You know, wheels are spinning. I'm like, "Well, what would I do?" He drove to the doctor's office. There's when your sister was born, Dad's always been a saver, and he spent a chunk of money, and he'd been paying $10 a month since she was born to this little country doctor that delivered her. Right? It was back when times were simpler, and the doc's like, "Man, you ain't got to do this." But no, they're the kind of people. $10 a month. And if you're making $90 a month, $10 a month is a huge portion of your income straight to the doctor that delivered your kid. Brian Paul, he drove to the doctor's office that next day, and he gave him every bit of that money, and they settled that bill. He paid it outright for your sister to be born. We went back to Chicago broke as hell, just like we came down there, with joy in our hearts. That's why I love Christmas. And grandbabies, they just don't make them like that anymore. I don't see it enough anyway. When I say they don't make them like that anymore, they don't make them like that anymore. That's your great grandparents, man. That's the stock you came from, chillin'. I love you. I'm a big fan of Christmas. Huh?